Hey guys, this is Bye Bye Money, and welcome to my channel. I'm glad that you can join me today. I have been super busy the last couple days. If you didn't know already, we just recently released the newest version of the two-legged pullback indicator, and it's been going great. We also released the free trial as well, and so we have just been super busy supporting uh, all the people who have been trying out the indicator for the first time. So naturally, with any product release or update, the couple days afterwards are typically very busy, and so uh, and with that, just haven't had time to honestly trade live. Just been very busy, going back and forth with customers and also with my own personal day job, and so gotta support the customers first, and yeah, that's um, it's been very busy, so I actually haven't had much time to look at charts. And to be honest, the last 2 days when I did look at the charts, did not like what I saw, and so just didn't see any good entries, at least for the few moments I was able to check the charts out live. So I'm actually going to do something a little different today, and I think you might like it. It's going to be a chart review, and hopefully it's like a chart review like no one else really does. I'm going to actually have the chart right up to the two-legged pullback, the second entry, and the chart will be covered up. So I'm going to go over the setup right before the two-legged pullback or the second entry hits, and we'll decide together if it's a good trade to take. So if you've been tuning in for a while, leave a like, subscribe. That all helps us out very much and motivates us to continue to produce content for you guys to hopefully learn this two-legged pullback. All right, so let's get on to the chart review here. The first setup we see, it's at around 9:39 a.m. today's session, and this is the chart that we see so far. This red line here is the yesterday's close, and we have a two-legged pullback forming here, and we can see the very next candle actually triggers the second entry, and we can quickly see with the indicator that it's a second entry and also a fail second entry short, or second entry short and a fail second entry long. How's that possible? Well, because you have this second entry short, A, B, C, and also you have this A, B, C, A, and this A leg fails to make a scalper's profit. So that's the fail second entry long. This is the second entry short, and when this triggers, as we can see here, it is a second entry and also a trap at the same time, all in one place. But to clear things up, we'll just keep the second entry short here. So two-legged pullback. And what do we do here? Do we enter this trade? Is this a good trade? Yes or no? What do you guys think? I give you guys some time to think here. Do you think this is a good trade or not? If I were to chart this right now, this is how my chart would look like. I would have a channel here, and we can see that we're off the 240 SMA. We're finding some support here, and also the bottom of this channel. I'm going to zoom in a little closer to the actual trade here, and we can see that we are in a trading range. Overlapping bars, 1, 2, 3. And remember, we're doing this, before we know what's going to happen. We're going to try to chart this before anything happens. So if we were to mark this trading range, it would actually look something like this right here. This is the trading range right here. When we look at this trading range, what is the price action telling us? The price action is telling us this, that we had entered a trading range, and naturally, after we come down, the market's trying to decide, are we going to reverse off these supports, or are we going to continue the downtrend? And so the market is confused. That's why these trading ranges typically happen around these areas. You can see that we have a strong bull bar, but no follow through, trading range. We can see that comes down, and then it tries to break out. All of these wicks above the trading range are essentially failed breakouts. So we try to break out once, try to break out twice. We enter the trading range, and then we actually try to break out, and we close above it, and here we see a breakout and immediate reversal. Failed breakout right here. Failed breakout, going counter trend to the trend right now. And we have broken down here, and now we're broken below, and then we came back to retest the top of the trading range, creating a double top here. That's how I would currently be reading this price action. But overall, choppy. Now with all of that, we have a two-legged pullback, testing the top of this range. What I'm thinking now, continuation of this downtrend to retest the bottoms here. Would I enter this? Would you have entered this? I think I would have entered this. This would be a good trade here. Let's go ahead and reveal the charts. Would this have been a good trade to go into? Boom. Okay, so we can see that this was able to make a scalp and failed, breakout, reversal, and continuation of the original trend. That's typically what happens with trading ranges. When it goes counter trend, typically fails and goes the other way. So there's a two-legged pullback plus a failed two-legged pullback as well. Good scalp right there. The second setup here, we have a two-legged pullback. By the way, if you don't know what two-legged pullback is, check out the description. We'll have links there to give you more details of what a two-legged pullback is, how to count legs, the basic information of a two-legged pullback. You can find it in the description below. This is a two-legged pullback right here. We can see with this dark green one that it does trigger on the next bar. Do we want to enter into this trade? Yes or no? What do you guys think? Would you enter this trade if it goes long here? Let's look at the price action. Currently what has happened is this. Remember again, all of this charting happens before the setup, so it's still actually relevant. We have a trend line, a channel with this pivot and this pivot and this pivot. To make a channel for descending for a downtrend is essentially you connect two pivot highs, and between those two pivot highs you go find a pivot low that when you make parallel lines or straight lines, it does not intersect any of the points. And so here you're only worrying, when you go to the other side, you're only worrying about between the two pivots, and you don't want to intersect anywhere there. It's okay if it intersects over here because that's after you made the channel, and so this is relevant information for us. Okay, so notice now we have broken down below, and now we have bounced, reversed, and now broken above this trend line. Notice where we are at. We are now testing the top of this trend line here. The signal bar is a weak signal bar. I think it's not super strong, it's a little bearish, but it's above the 50% line, so it's potential. You have potential here. Not only that, you have the 20 EMA, and you're a little below the 20 EMA right now, so that's a cause of concern. But for me, the main price action is essentially breaking out and then coming back down to retest this channel. Not only that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 overlapping bars. This calls, let's think trading range. So if we draw a trading range here, essentially we'll connect these bodies here. We have a trading range, and in this trading range, essentially what had happened is that how I would trade this live is essentially there was a breakdown, and actually I would probably start including this price action here for this trading range because we had a strong body here and coming back up, and so we see overlapping bars again here. So I would include this in the trading range. It's developing still, and we see that we are in the uptrend now. We're trending up, and we have essentially broken down. Typically in this scenario, what are we expecting? The trend is up. We have a break of the trading range going counter trend. Typically what we're thinking, fail breakdown and retest of the highs. You're thinking that this is going to come back up to the top of this trading range. That's typically what will happen with these trading ranges. So with a two-legged pullback setting up here, retesting the trend line here. Also, we're seeing the 20 EMA. We did break below it, so it's not that strong of a support at this point. But I think the first time breaking down it, you have potential to come back up. But I think most importantly, what we have here is with this uptrend, we have a trading range breakdown. We're expecting failed breakdown at this point to retest the top of this trading range. And let's go ahead and reveal what happens here. Also, we have yesterday's close, which could act as a magnet. We're thinking sometime today we'll probably hit this. So, will this be a good scalp? Let's go ahead and check out the rest of the charts. Would you enter this trade? This is the moment. Boom. Okay, we still haven't made our scalp. And do we make our scalp? Okay, the next candle we made our scalp, and we can see that it's trying to come back to the top of this trading range here. Failed breakdown. Okay, that would have been a good scalp. Very good scalp, and if you had a runner, you have potentially caught a runner here as well. The next setup is right here. This happens around 10:29. We have a two-legged pullback, A, B, C. Would you consider this to be a good second entry to enter into? First thing I see, very good signal bar. Very strong signal bar right here. The rest of the context we will have to consider. Right here, what do we see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Within 6 bars, the range is only about 2 points. We're thinking trading range. We connect the bodies here. We have all the bodies pretty much included in this trading range. So, what do we have here again? We have a strong uptrend. Big bull bars, ending near their highs, increasing in size. We're thinking another leg up. That's what I'm thinking. We see a trading range here. And in this trading range, again, we've connected the bodies. And this is information we would know by the time this trading range happens. It's not retroactive information. We only know information up to this point. And we see that we break down and no follow through on this breakdown. Not only that, very good signal bar. What we are expecting is this to come back up to test the top of this trading range. Again, we have this magnet here, yesterday's close. And with that being said, we're thinking most likely this will come back up here, failed breakdown, counter trend, or breakdown and a counter trend typically leads to a failed breakdown, and you want to come retest the top of this trading range here. Not only that, you have this now trend coming up. We see that we did break below it, but no follow through. We did break below this trend, and typically breakdowns fail. So we're expecting this maybe actually what typically happens is when there is a trend line, the trend line typically does break. About 70% chance the trend line will break. It's actually more unlikely it will be like a perfect touch and bounce off of it, but that does happen sometimes. But typically when you have a trend line, it kind of overshoots it, and then you have higher than a 60% chance that it will come back in. And so you have about 70% chance to actually poke out, and then a more likely chance for it to come back in. Essentially, a failed breakout. So we did break out here with no follow through, strong signal bar, good signal bar on an uptrend, and we're looking for a failed breakdown here. Would you enter into this trade? Well, let's see if it's a good trade. Let's go ahead and reveal the rest of the chart here. Okay, so it doesn't make a scalp yet, and actually bounces off the bottom of this channel trading range. And you're wondering, did I make a mistake? We're seeing a wick here, and that's disappointing for the bulls. Next candle. Okay, we almost made our scalp. In fact, it went 4 ticks this time. It needs to make one more tick to make the scalpers profit, but even then we might not have been filled. But you're thinking, come on, get to the top of this, but you're seeing kind of slightly disappointing bar, but still bullish. So we're still okay here. Still thinking we're okay. But 2 bars have passed already, and this is typically longer than you like to be in a trade. Let's go into the next candle. Boom. Okay, you finally make your scalp on the next candle here, retesting again the top of this trading range. That's where we go. So good scalp here as well. But notice now, we had to keep note that we did break the trend line and broke under the 20 EMA. We are in another spot here, the next setup. Would you take this short? We see by the indicator that it does break the candle's low, and so the second entry commences. This is the second entry because you have A, B, C right here, and when it breaks previous candle's low, you have a good second entry. So with this second entry, is this a good second entry to enter into? Would you enter the second entry? First thing I see, amazing signal bar. Very good signal bar right here. Very strong signal bar. It matches this bull bar, but also I will notice that this is a slight trading range here. We are starting to create another trading range here. Bunch of overlapping bars right here. So we're kind of in a trading range. But I think the main thing that we need to keep note of is this, that we have broken down here and created another two-legged pullback up. This is a typical pattern that happens after a breakdown. When the chart breaks the trend and the 20 EMA, what typically likes to happen is it likes to retest the highs one more time with a two-legged pullback, 2 pushes up. So you can keep that in mind. That is actually something that we look for when we trade a two-legged pullback. We look for a break of the trend and one more two-legged pullback after the breakdown of the trend. So we actually have a pretty good setup. For that setup, this is actually a pretty good instance of it. Would you go short here with this signal bar? You do have the 20 EMA possibly blocking you. You do have this trading range, and it could also block you if you hit it. There could be bulls here that will buy the bottom of this trading range. You also have this magnet here that we're expecting to hit sooner or later, which is yesterday's close. We're so close to it, less than 3 points. And so we're thinking we're going to try to hit it. Do we take the short here? We're on a strong uptrend, pretty much here. Have we created a wedge? It's a weak wedge. It's not really up there at the wedge point where we would like. It's not high enough. So, would I take this trade? I probably wouldn't take this trade. I would be scared to take this trade, to be honest. Just because we're in an uptrend, and I'm not sure if I have enough evidence that this uptrend would have ended. So, would you take this trade? I don't think I would, but let's go ahead and see what happens here. I personally would readjust this channel to look like this and see that it could possibly find support here. Let's go ahead and reveal the rest of this. Boom. This makes a scalp, and a lot of people saw this two-legged pullback and actually were able to enter this trade. So I wouldn't have entered it probably, but obviously a lot of people did, and they consider this to be a nice little top here. Perhaps they just saw these 3 pushes up here and thought that was a good trade to enter into. The next setup we have is a two-legged pullback. This happens at 11:11. A, B, C. And we see that we are at a interesting spot right here. We have a two-legged pullback, and we see that we have an excellent signal bar here. Excellent signal bar. And not only that, we are at a area where we are retesting this trend line, as you can see here. With this pivot and this pivot, we see that this trend line is being retested at this point. So we see that we are testing this trend line here, broke out, and we come down to test it. Would you enter long here on this trade? On the second entry, would you go long? What would I do here? I would consider going long here, but I would have to first look at the price action before it. If you look at the chart before it, we are seeing that we just broke down this trend. And not only that, the 20 EMA has acted as a resistance. We couldn't even make a two-legged pullback up here. And instead, we have almost all bear bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 7 out of the last 8 bars were non-bull bars. We have bars ending near their lows. We have essentially 0 pullbacks all the way down here. And now we are in a spot where we just had a huge bear bar. We are in an interesting area here, but notice we are now under the 240 SMA. We do not have enough room to the 240 SMA even, and so this is cause for concern. This can act as resistance. Would I enter here? I probably would look for another setup. I probably would look for a setup after this to look like this. I would wait for another two-legged pullback essentially. So I need this to be over here. So I would look for a higher low setup after this. I wouldn't want to enter the first time here off the first reversal. I would like to enter the second reversal if it were to happen. Let's go ahead and reveal what happens here. Okay, I'll go ahead and reveal what happens here. Will this be a good trade? Full body. Okay, but the 204 SMA looks like it's causing some trouble here. Continue. Okay, full body ending near its high. This looks very bullish, but look to the left. We're not even able to get to the top of this one single bear bar within 3 bars. This is typically a very bad sign that within 3 bars, if we can't get above here, who knows what will happen. It's not looking as strong as it seems like, even those 3 bull bars. In the next bar, we actually trigger a trap here, but we still have potential. We're still not stopped out yet. And we go, continues to go down. You're not liking this, but I potentially will look for maybe a good signal bar and want to enter into the second try up if it creates a higher low. Okay, we see that it creates a lower low now, and most likely if you're in this trade, you are stopped out. if you have placed your stop one tick below the signal bar, you are stopped out right here. If you did a 4-point stop, let's see where we are at. 1, 2, 3, 4. Your 4-point stop will be down here. And we continue. And I would have been interested maybe here after the second attempt up, retesting this again. But after seeing this, I don't know how strongly I would feel about that. And we actually make the point here. So if you had the 4-point stop, you actually would have been okay. But if you did the MACD stop, one tick below the signal bar, you would have been stopped out with style. It's basically stopped hunted you, and yeah, reverse right there. And so probably this little tail here was created for anyone who had their stop one tick below the signal bar. But if you had 4 points, you would have major points. Not saying this was a good trade by any means, but if you managed your trade correctly, you would have gotten 4 points, or you would have gotten your point right there. Alright, the next setup is right here. A, B, C. You see a nice signal bar like this, and you see a two-legged pullback. Would you consider to take this trade? You can see something like this. You could potentially have a trading top of the channel right here. And notice that you have just bounced off this trend line created from this pivot, and we are bouncing off this trend line 2 times so far. Could be a potential trend reversal here. Not only that, you have this super strong bull trend ending near its high, bull bars ending near its high, pullback, and this super strong bull bar with follow through. If I saw this bull bar with follow through, I would be very hesitant to go against this trade, especially after a support. The 240 SMA also acting as support. The 20 EMA and the 240 SMA now converging, and 20 EMA bouncing off the 240 SMA. Gives you many reasons for concern. At this point, to go short here, I think will be essentially trying to go against the trend here. Would I go short here? Definitely not. Definitely not. I would definitely not go short there, but let's see what happens anyways. And we go to the next one. Does break below, and we see the very next candle, it creates a trap continuing this uptrend. Boom. Uptrend continues. Boom. Boom. And if you're MACD, then you're already stopped out. If you do a 4-point stop, 1, 2, 3, 4, you're already stopped out at the 4-point stop loss as well. Wait, yeah, am I right? Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, you get stopped out right here, and you're still okay, and then you get stopped out right there. So either way, you've been stopped out. Bad trade, strong bull bar. Don't want to trade against that. This is getting near the end of the trading day. This is within the last hour. It's at 3:13, and you have a two-legged pullback right here, right off the 20 EMA, and a strong signal bar. Would you consider this trade? Would you consider going long here? We see a perfect touch off the 20 EMA and a two-legged pullback with a strong signal bar. First thing I would notice is that we are around the yesterday's close, which is this red line. Not only that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 overlapping bars. We must recognize this trading range here. This alone will make me not want to enter in, because you do not have enough room to the top of this trading range. We do see the next candle does trigger this, and so it does trigger the second entry here, but we notice that there is just not enough room to the top of this trading range. If enter here, you would need a deep retracement. You would need retracement basically back to here, bottom of this trading range, and I think that's just too deep. So you do not have enough room to the top of this trading range. Most likely not want to enter just purely based on that. Let's see what else. Let's look at the larger context here. We also see that we have this trend line now. This trend line originally looked like this, broke below, and now it's coming back up. So we do have this idea where we broke below, and then we're making another two-legged pullback up after the break of this trend line and 20 EMA. So most traders are looking for one more two-legged pullback before going short. So this is where we're at right now, and many traders most likely actually probably went short here because they're looking for that two-legged pullback after the break of the trend line, and it made another two-legged pullback, A, B, C. And so we do have a lot of bears here trying to get in. Something's going for us to go long, kind of long tails under the candles. I probably would go long here actually, but I would manage this trade in a certain way because of the context. I see here that we're in a strong uptrend. I would have seen this strong uptrend. We had just broken out outside of the, I just revealed a little bit what the chart has, but it's okay. I see the strong uptrend. I see the trading range that we are in. I see that we broke above yesterday's close, and I see that we bounced off the 20 EMA. All of this, and I would consider probably to go long here, but I would also make sure that I would have enough capital to go in with a scale in here. One scale in, because what I'm thinking here is because of the strong uptrend, if we break below this trading range, we most likely will have a failed breakdown and a reversal up. And when I look at this chart, I see that we have this as support here, this trend line. So I would be willing to risk the 4 points here and also scale in with this trend line as my kind of my last resort here. So let's see what happens. The second entry triggers, hits the top of this trading range, but as we can see on the next candle, strong bear candle ending near its low. I would be in this position right here. This will be my entry. So this is basically my break even at this point. I would remember I would manage this with a scale in because of the likelihood of a failed breakdown if it does break down. Another strong bear bar, but see where we are at. We are at this trend line, creating from this pivot, and this pivot, and we're extending it now to where we are, and we are right here. If my entry was right here, my stop will be 1, 2, 3, 4 points down here. This will be my stop. Entry, stop. I'll be sweating for sure, but I would be calculated here. Next bar comes, and we see that it is a pullback. And in my mind, I'm already ready to take my 4-point stop loss. But just in case, I don't stop out. I just let my stop loss get hit if it does get hit. I hold it. The next bar we see an inside bar, 2 inside bars at the support here. And what I would do now is actually have another entry right above this bar. I'll have an entry ready here to scale in once. Thinking we're going to come back to test the top of this trading range with a failed breakdown. And lo and behold, I will be entered in now. And so, with my 2 entries combined, my entry would be right here. If I use this tool, this is just a line tool, it gives me the midpoint, which is right here. So my midpoint, my break even, is actually going to be right here, my new break even. So what I would do is I would bring my stop right here, and I will try to get stopped out, break even plus 1 tick to save all my commissions. And so I will have this here, and also I will have my stop loss still at 4 points, and boom, I would come out break even right there. That's how I managed this trade, giving me my point here, and though I lost a little bit on this trade here, basically coming out break even plus 1 tick, gives you a little bit on the commissions, but yeah, you'll still be slight profit, but I would have gone out right there. Readjust this trend line, and then see the rest of the price action. Actually comes all the way up here, but not enough to give you a point, and then we see it reverse down, finally hitting the stop loss. So good break even right there. That's what I would have done if I were to manage the trade. But also notice, retested the top of this trading range. Fail breakdown, retest top of the trading range with the original trend. That's the last setup of the trading day, and it's basically the end of the day there. I hope that's been helpful, and I don't know if you enjoyed this, but it's the best I could do just because I have just been so busy. So I wanted to do a chart review with everyone here, and I wanted to do a chart review for myself. And so, looking back at the charts, that's how I would have read it. Hopefully this has been helpful for you guys. A lot of trading range, there's a lot of trading ranges right now. The last 2 days has just been crazy, a lot of trading ranges, so it's a good time to practice your trading range trading. And I think hopefully this video has been helpful for you. And if it has been, then yeah, give a thumbs and subscribe. That would be great. And as always, happy trading and God bless.